best it's been in 100 years. And we did not play well enough to win. Watching Nebraska last night, they looked a little bit like us at Minnesota. They just couldn't make a shot. That's not how they've been playing. So, we feel that we had 2 really good days of practice, one where we went 1 where we went 2. I think we've gotten a lot done. I think players understand where they are, and yet nobody tried to miss a shot. Nebraska's challenging because they have great length. They sometimes play as 6'9" point guard in Banton. They've got a bunch of transfers, but they're transfers that, like Allen, who played at West Virginia, Banton was at Western Kentucky, McCollins was at Pittsburgh. I mean, these people came from very good programs, very well coached, and they're all very, very good players. Last night, like I said, they shot it poorly, and I've seen them shoot it very well. So, are we a little shaken? Probably. Are we lost a little confidence? Probably. We think we're going to do some things to get back on track, and that's kind of the way we've practiced. I have been pleased with practice, and we'll see if we can take that to the game. Question. Take it any way you want. I really don't give a damn as far as excuses, not excuses. But, we're going to try to make Rocket play more of the point, because it was what I needed done, which was very unfair to him. And then when the time when you get better at that is spring, summer, and fall, the exhibition games, the other games. It is a big excuse, but we're asking a guy to change in a lot of ways, and some things he did very well and some things he didn't do as well. But I don't feel like, number one, he got any practice time at it, any time to readjust and learn it. Number two, I do think it was selfish on my part. It was somewhat of a necessity in some ways. We had AJ out with the knee injury and missing those 2-3 weeks. And Foster's done a good job, and what we think his role will be on this team. But I kind of force-fed Rocket, and as I said, he did some real good things, and he did some things that weren't quite as good at that position. I still envision him playing more two. I envision him playing a lot more two now, because I want to get him there. When I said, it's not really what he wanted to do, that's not a negative. I got a lot of guys, Draymond didn't want to play the 4, and then all of a sudden he wanted no part of the 3. It's just the way it works. And this position is critical. And I think the lack of opportunity to play it, learn it, study it, and then play it in those exhibition games and maybe 5 other games of against not quite as higher caliber teams as top 20 teams would have really helped Rock learn it easier. But we weren't able to do it this year, so I've got to adjust accordingly. I'm going to try to play him more at the 2, but someday he's going to be back playing some point. I really believe that, and when the process works to our favor. So he's had a couple of great days of practice. And I think what it's done is it's made him come in and work on his shooting even more. And so, sometimes it's players' fault on things. Sometimes it's coaches. And one thing that they'll tell you is don't try to put a round peg in a square hole. And I kind of force-fed that on a necessity because of number 1, injury, and number 2, lack of time to prepare. But we're trying to make some adjustments to that now. I think he'll get more comfortable in what he's doing, and it'll help us a little bit more. Ding it a little bit, and Marcus has been an enigma for me. I'm not going to make any bones about it. Yesterday, we made him Banton, who's a 6'9" point guard. And Marcus, played well inside, outside. He made some great passes. If I gave you my truest opinion of Marcus, basketball just has to become important 24/7, and it's got to be important every day. And the highs and lows of not gaining weight, there's just got to be a commitment. But in fairness to Marcus, this was a bad summer to have to take that big jump when he had no real structure because of our inability to be around 4 or 5 of the months once the season ended, and I think that hurt too. But I have been pretty impressed that I think he is committed to wanting to get it done. Magic once told me every player wants to be great. Most players don't know how to be great. And I think as he matures, which I've said it publicly, I said it to him. So, he's still immature in some ways. But I got to adjust too. And we've had a lot of long meetings. And, I still think we need Marcus. I still think he can do some things. I still think he can help us win games. It's just got to be everything on a more consistent level. And number one, strength and conditioning has been a big factor in why he doesn't play as many minutes. Now, the injury, that was true. Did hurt his ankle. Didn't seem to be any problem yesterday. And, we keep trying to work Julius in. He's gone through some tough times too. Christmas wasn't nearly the best time for him, as we all can imagine. And we did play Monty more, and I said we would be after Christmas, and we did do that. And I think he does give us some things from a strength and rebounding standpoint and a running standpoint that's going to help us. So not giving up on anybody yet. Actually was more encouraged by Markey yesterday and the day before and after a couple meetings. But, I can't make it. It's got to be important all the time. And I can't make somebody the old you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. And so we're gonna see how it goes. But I was encouraged by this last couple of days. I mean, you're not going to all of a sudden make a guy a point guard that hasn't been a point guard. You're probably not going to make a guy a leader. I mean, a lot of people say leaders are born, not made. I just don't think there's as many being born. So I think we got to make them a little bit better. And what does that mean? Of course, it's not when they're born. It's just we have such a soft society right now, and they want to keep making it softer. If you ask me, let a kid do whatever he wants. And so when they're in elementary school, junior high school, I'm sure of all people, you deal with this a lot. People aren't programmed to be the alpha dog, I mean, we give trophies for 37th place. I mean, that's what our people want to do now. So how do you become an alpha dog if you're always satisfied for what you've done? So that's not going to change overnight, I still think the Joshes and Aarons have to take on some of that, but I think some of it's going to have to fall on me too. And that's the round peg in a square hole again, I'm going to have to. I understand what's needed. I don't get to play, but that's why I've been having more meetings, more talks, more things. And I think I got to do a better job myself. So I'm going to turn it more on myself. It's not my fault that our society is soft. Okay. It's not my fault that you're not allowed to demand something of an 8th grader or a junior in high school because somebody's upset about it. But guess what? It's not their fault either. It's the adult's fault in the long run. I'm the adult. I need to take that on myself and see if I can help, because as you can imagine, you have everybody's attention now. And so everybody knows, these weren't knocked down, dragged down. In fact, one day we just had a film session and didn't practice. A little different for me after a loss, but I felt the right thing to do. I thought they needed some rest mentally and physically. And I'm learning as we go this year too. You can say, well, I've got all this experience. Nobody has experience of a pandemic or what it's doing. And so I I don't feel as bad as everybody feels mad because I think I understand some of the circumstances, but I don't feel as good as just to be able to say, hey, we lost 3 games. That's the way it goes. You know, I listen to some people tell me, well, we haven't lost 3 games in a row ever, you know. We just did it last year. You know, you just don't realize it. And it wasn't against 3 top 20 teams. You don't realize that. And it wasn't during a pandemic where you had no spring, summer, or fall. But everybody is in the same boat. It's just everybody handles these situations differently. And I'd say that I'm blaming the adults in society. I'm an adult and I'm part of the society. So I better look in a mirror and take some of the responsibility, which I am doing, and seeing if I can help guys through some things. We made no bones about we lack a little leadership. That doesn't mean they're bad kids. In fact, I wouldn't trade one guy. And it doesn't mean they're not smart kids. Greatest semester we've had. It's just alpha dog is something that you develop through your first 18 years. I didn't change Mateen Cleaves. His mama took care of that. She didn't worry about who was at school. She took care of that, you know. I didn't change Draymond Green. I didn't make Travis Walton. I didn't make Denzel Valentine a good leader. His daddy took care of that. So sometimes, you know, as we move forward here, I think everybody would agree that there's less leaders, softer countries. So we gotta do some things about that, and I'm gonna try to take that on. So point the finger at me. You're not pointing at any of them. I appreciate the question.
No problem, Tom. Thanks.
Because like Rocket grew up shooting, AJ grew up a point guard. And we didn't use him early because we were getting the weight down, which we've accomplished. We were getting the injury, which it's behind us now. I mean, he is going to step up in a role, but he has a feel for those things. I mean, he has some other things he doesn't do as well as either one of them, but he has a feel for running a team because that's what he's done. He was recruited as a point guard, and you know, he could play multiple positions. He played some 2 guard. He was kind of like, he's more like a Denzel, but his thought process, one of my assistants said it best, the ball comes off his hands real soft. You know, that's an NFL thing. They talk about those quarterbacks that throw a ball that's real catchable, and he just has a feel. So I think he is going to help us more, and we'll do that. Hopefully get Rock. I mean, I'm not done with Rocket at the point. I just realize it's me that's not being fair to him. It's not him that's not being fair to me. He's trying to do everything. And shame on me for trying to, you know, change that. And yet I say that, I don't blame me. You do what you got to do with the circumstance you're on. You know, we had a point guard committed that changed his mind. That kind of threw off some things. Rocket's ready to do whatever I want. And the last 2 days, he's been in here at 6:30 in the morning working on his shot. So I'm actually more pleased with Rocket than I've ever been. And but having to think the game, take shots, and play good defense, you know, isn't what he signed up for last year. I'm trying to groom him into that without any April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. And I just realized that wasn't fair. Called him in and told him that. And I feel comfortable where we are on that. Most of it is knowing they have the time to see it happen. I think a lot of guys, Rocket Watts has the skill set to be that. But, you know, it's like Denzel Valentine. I mean, I think in high school, as good as he was the 3rd leading scorer on his team. They had, of course, Brent Forbes, and the other kid that went to Iowa was actually a point guard, but kind of the mentality of Denzel, he just always had point guard skills. That's what he did. When Denzel was here, we laughed about it. We looked at it. Rockets averaged more shots a game right now than Denzel did after a year and a half. Not even close. And I think his senior year, he had 13, 8 or 14 shots a game when he was this all everything, could pass it to himself, catch it, and shoot it to himself. That's why he was an MVP guy. But I think, you know, practice is what's important. And, you know, all summer, you know, we didn't scrimmage one day. We weren't allowed to in our state. It was all some individual work. You don't learn how to make decisions with individual work. We couldn't have team meetings up in the locker room, in the film room. We couldn't watch film and video. There were some things that took away that hindered different people's development. I think trying for Tom Izzo to try to make a shooter into a point guard, that's a big factor. And so, hey, I too blamed Rocket some until I woke up one night and said, you know, how stupid are you? And I always tell my players, look in a mirror. I looked in the same mirror. I saw an idiot. And so I decided to change some of that. But he still has some skills that can do that. He just needs the time and what's the word? Reps at doing it. You don't get those when the season starts. And so, you know, I'm not making this a big a deal. Will he still play some? Sure. But I'm going to try to get him in his comfort level, which is going to be better for us because he not only could score it, but I think he could really defend. Now he's thinking about everything. He's not even been as good defensively. And that's, I felt so good about Rocket this last week, even up there, just because of the way he's handled things and the way he's, I think, learning to, I got to work on these things now. They all came natural.
As a quick follow with that, I know in the past I'm thinking like 2-3 years ago, you experimented a little bit with Josh at the one. Is that a situation that could come up at some point?
Think to yourself right now, I'm just trying to get Josh to, you know, put the 2 years behind him. And like he said to me the other night, I thought Josh played one of the worst I've seen him up in Minnesota because he wasn't good defensively and things like that. And you know, he's got a lot on his plate, you know, and in a meeting, one of the things he said to me, I just want to forget about the 2 years now, not worried about the injury anymore and move forward. Well, hard to throw another thing on his plate. So we're going to work through this, but it isn't going to be a smooth process because I do think we've got some things that Foster can improve on. I do think he's improved defensively a lot. I do think we can improve some things with AJ a lot because more than Foster or Rocket. Remember now, Foster averaged 38 points a game or 35 points a game in high school. And passing wasn't his first thing either. I have two very scoring guards, and you know, Foster has more of it because he's smaller. You just assume that, but you know, AJ has a very good feel for the game, and hopefully we can bring him along quicker too. Josh, right now, I just don't want to mess with those shooters, and if I do, I could slow the game down at points and make them that kind, go to two-guard front. That's possible. Just don't want to do that right now. Couldn't agree more. That's one of the points of emphasis for the last 3 weeks. Aaron Henry, got to get to the line more. Said that as the start of the year. First couple games he did, got away from that. We're starting to throw the ball inside a little bit more. We're still feeling more comfortable with our post guys. Got to get to the line. Rockets got to get to the line a little more. He's shooting 85% from the free throw line. No question about it. Joey Hauser's got to get to the line. He's a very good free throw shooter. So, and that does stop the bleeding sometimes. I don't think there's any question about that and could really help us. So, yeah, you know, it's, as we say all the time, this isn't brain surgery. And what you're seeing is but sometimes you need a guy to put guys in a position to do that. And that's, you know, that's going to be critical as we move forward. missing layups, getting fouled. We thought we were fouling too much. That was a big point of emphasis going into the Minnesota game. And I've heard some people, talk to me about how can you be so positive about the defense at Minnesota? Well, what we wanted to do, we did. They scored on some layups, not off many turnovers. We didn't want to turn the ball over. We did. We contested the three. We did. They took advantage of, in my mind, the most poor shots one of my teams have shot in the last 7-8 years. We took some bad shots, and that caused breakout layups and things like that. So if we play as good a defense, keep our turnovers down, get to the free throw line a little more. We had more free throws than Minnesota, and they lead the nation in it. But then not take the bad shots. And we got 70 shots up. That was great. We thought we had some good shots, that we made bad shots. And we're gonna correct those things. I mean, they're gonna get better. I think a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a mindset like it was with Xavier or Nick Ward, because I don't think we're there yet. But I think the balance of it, and we have the ability to post guys like Aaron. I mean, he's still got to be our focal point. He's got to score well. We think knocking off a few layups that he's missed and this and that. And by the way, how come every other media guy is looking like I'm used to see a media guy, with a hat on, beard, looking kind of gruffy and not really presentable, and you come with this GQ crap? I mean, how come we got that going on here? I just
But you really don't want to see me right now. That's the reason.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wondered. But in all fairness, we didn't think we'd be as good in the post scoring early in the year. And then we started realizing that we think we can get it in there more. Kittier's improved. I think Monty's making big improvements. I think Julius is going to improve. We're getting a lot out of the guy that's playing pretty solid that we don't talk about is Malik Hall. If you look at his rebounding, his scoring, if you look at his percentages, he's playing really well. I think the other negative is we got to get Joey Hauser more shots. He's getting 7. If Aaron can get 12, 13, he's at about 11 something. And they got to be better shots, and that's what we're working on with Rock. They got to be good shots. And Aaron doesn't take any bad shots. I thought up at Minnesota, Josh had a few bad shots, and those bad shots lead to things. So what I would like to use the inside guys feeding the outside guys some, because the inside-out threes are better. But I think we'll get more scoring inside. I think we'll go inside more. I think we'll have a little more balance. And I think, I think we're going to start playing better. I really do. So we're going to have to. I know it's New Year's Eve today, so you guys make sure you behave yourselves. Take care of yourselves. And I hope that this is going to be a good time for us to have some New Year's resolutions as a team, some different dreams and goals we'll look at. I hope you guys have them, and I hope for all of us, 2021 is a smoother, get rid of this pandemic. Thank God we're getting some vaccines, and get this basketball team back, and then maybe getting fans in the stands back. I think that's going to be would be important too. And I think that's hurt us a little bit. I mean, we do have a tremendous home court advantage. We have started out with, we're going to be 3 of our first 4 games have been on the road. And just because there's no fans in the stands, being on the road is on the road. So not been an easy stretch for us, but you got to love that the league's as good as it is. And we're going to find a way to make sure we're competing in this league like Michigan State teams have in the past and will in the future. So have a happy New Year to all of you, and